Good morning, guys. Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation. I'm Owen James. This is your morning news update for the 1st of December. Guys, we're in the crazy season, December, run into Christmas, but more importantly, the run into the genuine, real Christmas begins now. 31 days and it comes. The madness of the January transfer window, the reality of real Christmas for football fans. You know what? Forget December the 25th. Who gives a toss about December the 25th? At the end of the day, it is January transfer window. That's the real Christmas present day, isn't it? And I think, you know, as the thumbnail and the title indicate on this video, Rangers need a massive, huge January. And look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to you that it's going to be easy, because January transfer windows are never easy, are they? They're always they're a seller's market, because teams know you're desperate. Teams know you want to buy, and they put the prices up. You know, teams will know that Rangers need a striker. Teams will know that Rangers, you know, need a number 6, need fullbacks, need this, need that, and prices will go up. So I think we've got to kind of temper our expectations, but there does need to be business done in this January transfer window, because the one thing that has kind of become glaringly obvious over these last few games, and look, I'm not blaming Danny Rule at all for this. You know, Danny Rule, yes, the game yesterday was dire. It was boring. It was turgid. It was genuinely put yourself to sleep time. If you are someone who struggles with sleeping, go watch that game yesterday and you'll fall asleep within minutes. It was that bad. You know, it genuinely was a very dreadful game, that uninspiring, slow. That Rangers team is one of the worst Rangers teams I have seen in an awful long time. And that's not on the manager. I mean, let's get this right. You know, you could honestly, I mean, if today we announced that we were sacking Danny Rule and replacing him with, I don't know, Mikel Arteta, Carlo Ancelotti, Jurgen Klopp, Jose Mourinho, I don't know Xavi Alonso, the great managers around the world at this moment in time, it would still be dire, because those players are diabolical. I mean, you looked at that team yesterday, and I'll be absolutely honest with you, they were dire. It was genuinely piss poor yesterday. These players are a bang average League One English team. That's what they are. That's what they've become. That's how we shopped. You know, at the end of the day, that's what Kevin Thelwell brought to this club. He's brought a load of average League One footballers to this club. I mean, look, Jack Butland, obviously, fine. I've got no issues with Jack whatsoever. I thought he was fine. He did a great job. He's been probably our player of the season most of the season. I thought James Tavernier was absolutely appalling. The guy is done. He's finished at this football club. And people who are talking about giving him a new contract, seriously, lads or ladies or whoever it is, give your head a wobble. If you want to give that man a new contract, you do not understand football in the slightest. His legs are gone. He is done. Nasajiga's he's a weird one, isn't he? You know, at times he can look good, he can clear the ball well, he can block well, he can tackle well, but then he's always got that absolute howler in him to give something away, and that's a major concern. And look, at the end of the day, he's not our player. He'll be gone at the end of the season. I thought Emmanuel Fernandez did okay. He's growing into the team nicely. I think he'll be a player. Max Aarons, please God, no, just genuinely poor yesterday. And plus, why are we playing a right footer at left back? Why have we got nobody with a left foot on the left side? It to me makes no sense. To me, the person on the left side has to have a left foot. You've got to have that ability to create that natural width, to have someone who can bomb on around the outside and get to the line, create the width. And that will help to overcome low blocks. It will help to get the team going forward. And we just didn't have that with Aarons yesterday. I thought Raskan was poor yesterday. He really is suffering with a lack of confidence. I don't know what's gone wrong with Nico Raskin. I think he may well be off at the end of the season. Connor Barron did okay. Ant-Man, just absolute diabolical. The guy is just awful. Genuinely awful. Thelo Asgard. I mean, I'm not being funny, but Thelo Asgard is so bad. He's a poser. He does nothing. He's one-paced. I mean, he honestly makes Todd Cantwell look like Kevin De Bruyne. He makes he just isn't a footballer. The guy is just one-paced. I mean, he would be fantastic in Luton's team in League One because that's his standard. He isn't, a decent footballer. Bayrami did okay. Miovski was diabolical. Gassama was all right when he came on, livened it up a bit, had a shot late on. Danilo did okay. Curtis, I thought, tried really hard. Dio was absolutely dire again. Another one that needs to be moved on at the end of the season. But overall, you look at that team, and it's not that they're not trying. It's just that they're not good enough. They are very average footballers. And like I said to you, you could get Jurgen Klopp, Mikel Arteta, whoever, in charge of that team, and they still wouldn't win jack shit. That's the reality of the situation. January needs to be huge. It really does need to be huge. Obviously, the thing that is a major concern for us as fans is that, look, January will come. Of course it will. But it's not coming yet. And there is... there is still a hell of a lot of games to go between now and the January transfer window. And, I think yesterday what was particularly discouraging is you've got the Falkirk manager talking post-match about the fact that he didn't even think they played well yesterday, and he thought they could have given more yesterday, which is a concern. Obviously, we've got Dundee United is next up on the 3rd, which is Wednesday, at 7:45 kickoff at Tannadice. Then it's Kilmarnock away on the 6th, Ferencváros away on the 11th, Hibs at home on the 15th, away to Hearts on the 21st. That's huge. Then it's the 27th at home to Motherwell, again huge. 30th of December. Then it is St Mirren at home before the next Old Firm on the 3rd of January against Celtic at Parkhead. So you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games in this month before we can even look to strengthen the team. So short-term solutions have got to be found for this issue. Now, one of the big issues for me is that you look at the strikers and none of them look like they're capable of scoring goals. We took 60 goals. And this all comes back on Kevin Thelwell at the end of the day. And yes, the man has gone, and it just kind of really emphasises that the next appointment the club make in terms of that sporting director has to be spot on. It's got to be spot on. It's got to be flawless in effect, because if it is not flawless, if there is an error in that point, we will go continually down that route. And the one thing you can level at Rangers, I think, post Steven Gerrard, is the recruitment has been diabolical. I think, if I asked you as fans to sit down and tell me who's been the successes, who have been the players who, since Steven Gerrard was manager, have been recruited and have been a success, who are they? Because I think you'd struggle to get past one hand in terms of the players that have been successful for this football club. The players that have been recruited in the last, 5 years, that have actually have added to this squad and improved this squad. Like I said, we took out 60 goals from this team last season. Obviously, Tierney, we couldn't sign him for whatever reason. Dessers, obviously, whatever you think about him, yes, probably not good enough in the long run. And Hamza Igaman, who is ripping up in France. 60 goals, and we've replaced it with Chimiti. Obviously, Danny was already at the club still, and Bojan Miovski. Chimiti looks like a three-legged cart horse. Bojan Miovski looks a pale shadow of the player he used to be, and Danny's struggling. And I think you look at the team, and you really do see that the firepower needs to be added, and I think that has to be a priority for January. That striker has to be a priority. If we don't bring in one, maybe two strikers in January, and even move one of them on or two of them on in January, we could face a situation where we're going to struggle for the rest of the season. Now, I've heard some Rangers fans talking about title challenge. Guys, there's no title challenge this season. Not unless the improvement in January is massive. This is a team that are going to struggle to finish second, I honestly believe, with the way they're playing at this moment in time. Yes, that looks better in terms of those last 5 results, the 4 wins and a draw, but when you come up against the likes of Hearts and Celtic and Motherwell, we're going to struggle to score the goals. We're going to struggle to score the goals because we just do not create or take chances. And that is a real issue for this football team. And the strikers are a massive, massive option. Now, look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it's all just players. I think team selection does play a role in it. I think there are players who could realistically make a difference to this team. I genuinely do. I think there are players who could come in and really genuinely, make a bit of a difference. For me, Lyle Cameron, I think, could make a huge difference to this team. Lyle obviously sat on the bench yesterday, hasn't been used at all, and the manager said, that they will get him and Finlay will get their opportunities. But, the one thing you say about Lyle Cameron is that I think some people thought that maybe he was being held back because of the fact that he was a Coppen signing and a Clement signing, and Thelwell didn't want to see his signings put out by a Coppen signing. That there's no longer that excuse anymore. Thelwell, thank God, has gone. But Cameron to me, whenever he's played, offers what we need. He offers go forward. He offers positivity. He never hides. The one thing you can say about Lyle Cameron is that whenever he gets the ball, his first intention is, how do I get the ball forward? How do I make this into an attacking move? How do I, cause the opposition a problem? How do I put the effort in to get forward? Even games where we've lost in the past under Russell Martin when he played, he always looked positive. He always wanted to attack, to move forward. And to me, Cameron has to play. Now, I personally think it's a mistake to play Raskin and Barron or Raskin and Diamonde. I think it's too defensive. I think, yes, in Europe, fine against the European teams. Yes, you go with that more defensive set because we haven't got the talent to go up against them. Against Celtic, when we play them on the third, I would go with 2 6s as well because I don't think we've got the talent to beat them in midfield. But Cameron, the rest of the time, against the likes of Dundee United, Falkirk, Livy, Motherwell, why are we not using this player? He is creative. He can play a pass. He can pick a pass. He's also got that bulldog spirit and fighting spirit in him as well. To me, he should be playing and starting week in, week out. And I think the manager's inability to or the lack of desire to use him is a mistake. I think also Finlay Curtis as well. I don't know why Finlay Curtis has been held back. I know there's JD Gassama, I know there's Oliver Antman, I know there's Mikey Moore, etc., etc. But to me, Finlay Curtis is as good, if not better, than any of them because he has the one thing that they don't have, which is heart and fight and passion for this football club. This is his football club. This is the club he loves. Whenever he comes on, he does what Cameron does. He doesn't hide. He gets stuck in. He has go forward. He has positivity. He has attack. He wants to attack. He wants to create chances. He wants to take chances. And that is badly and sadly lacking, for me, in what is happening with this football team at this moment in time. There is no, to me, desire to get forward. There is no desire to create. There is no desire to be positive. It is still a very sideways, backwards, boring, turgid footballing style we're watching at the moment. And that I don't think is down just to the manager. That is down to the players we have. They are incapable of doing anything else. Now, if everyone was fit, if people were fit, and look, realistically, I wouldn't play James Tavernier. I'd drop him. I'd put him in the stands. I wouldn't even allow him near the football club on a Saturday, but he is going to play. He is, quite frankly, one of the worst players we have, but he is going to play. Whether we like it or not, this man is going to be, I think, cursing this football club for the next 2 to 3 seasons. I think he will get an extension. I'd go with the back three. I'd play Dujon Sterling, Suter if he's fit, and Fernandez. Suter in the middle. It negates the mistakes a little bit more. Fernandez to the left, Sterling to the right. Sterling, I think, can also come out wide. He can create an overload, help to create overloads out wide. He can bring the ball out. He can distribute the ball well. He's played in midfield. And I think what is good about this system, it is a flexible system. You can defensively defend as a 5 because Tavernier and Magoma can drop back in. Look, realistically, I would like to see us get a left back, but that's not going to happen until January. So we've got to look at what we've got now. And to me, we've got to have a left footer in this team to create those overlaps out wide. And that is Jada Magoma because there is no one else. You can defend as a 5, like I said. You can drop those 2 wing backs back in. You can also perhaps even drop Raskin back in to make it a 6, to make it really hard to overcome. But you can also create overloads out wide and centrally because, if you're attacking down the right, for example, you can create an overload with Tavernier, Curtis, and even Sterling can push forward to make it into that 3 out wide, or Raskin drifts to the right. It creates overloads. And on the left, again, Gassama, Magoma, Cameron create that overload left side to overcome the low blocks. For me, I would go with Cameron and Raskin in the centre. Give Raskin the 6 role. Cameron give him the 8 role to get him to get forward. Gassama and Curtis as your 2 wide men, or they can come back in. They can link with Danilo. I've gone for Danny because he's the best of a bad bunch. He was more positive yesterday. I think he's probably better than both Chimity and Miovski. You know, I know a lot of you don't like Danilo, but realistically, tell me why Chimity or Miovski should be in the team over him, because there is literally no one else, unless you're going to go and perhaps try Josh Gentles up top. I don't know. But that, to me, is a team that can create that. Now, you've also got a fluid front three there. Gassama and Curtis can switch wings. Curtis can go central. Danny can come out wide. You know, Gassama can go central. Danny can come out wide. There's a fluidity to that front three. And if you look at the better teams in the Premier League, they have a fluid front three. They have, you know, a three that can change, that can be dynamic and make it difficult for opposition teams to mark them. You know, if you've got a constant issue of, well, my man's gone out wide, do I go with him? Do I stay? What do I do? You know, it creates that question in the defender's mind, and it creates that uncertainty in the defender's mind. You know, you look at, say, Arsenal, you know, Saka, Gyökeres and Martinelli, there's an interchange of position there, you know, between that front three. You know, you look at Chelsea, the same thing with Estevao and Palmer and all those guys. There's interchange constantly in position. So for me, you've got a fluid front three there. You know, I'm not saying this team is a league-winning team. It certainly isn't, but at least it can kind of try and create something different. It's got go forward from midfield. It's got positivity. It's got aggression. And to me, we're lacking all those things. And players like Nasajiga, players like Thelo Asgard, players like Max Aarons, just to me, do not bring that at all to this club. Asgard, I would ship out in January. I genuinely would get rid of him in January, because the guy is fucking useless. I mean, he really is one pace, slow arse, just not good at all. You know, it really is a struggle. Now, look, you look at the league as it stands at the moment, you know, and what's frustrating for me is that this is not a great league this season. You know, Celtic obviously going to end up with a new manager soon. Hearts are getting altitude sickness. You know, Motherwell are third. Motherwell are no great team. You know, Hibs obviously lost to Celtic yesterday. You know, we're at 9 points off Hearts. We're 7 points off Celtic. I mean, realistically, you know, we're actually even less. If we were to win our game in hand, we'd only be 6 points off Hearts. So, you know, realistically, but that's with a dynamic team. That's with a team that can do this, and I just don't see in this team the talent or the ability to do that at this moment in time. Now, look, Danny Rule, I think, has the spirit and has the fight to want to get out there and to want to improve the team, and I think he also has that vicious streak as well. I think he will have that ability to drop players, to leave players out, and I think he is going to need to do that, because there's a lot of these players who simply are not up to standard. Guys, look, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. Guys, if you've enjoyed the content, please like, comment, share and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one.